I love stories, reading, watching, and creating them. It was a natural progression that I became a writer. I started out as a child, keeping a notebook of thoughts and reflections, and pretty soon I was writing ideas, poetry, and stories. When my father discovered that I was writing short stories, he showed me a couple of his own short stories, published in a newsletter for PMA students or graduates. I was in awe because I never knew he also dabbled in fiction writing. I was also a bit surprised when I discovered that we have a very similar voice, literary voice, I mean. So you can say I never had a choice. When I was born, it was already in my blood, writing. I work better with a deadline because I'm forced to write. But I usually start with a concept. I try to outline the way the story will flow, create the characters, and then let the story take me wherever it would. I try to write every day. Some days will be more productive than others. But when the deadline looms, I push myself to flesh the story out. So there's no real routine. I write when inspiration strikes. I write when I am on break from life and work, and I write when I need to write. My process is a bit funny in that when I think of an idea for a story, I let it take me through an adventure. Sometimes I find myself totally outside what I set out to write. But as long as it feels right and authentic to me, I let the story take me on the journey. Most of the time, the story controls me rather than me controlling the story. So I am usually pleasantly surprised where the story goes. I try to give them a full backstory, even if it doesn't really appear in the story or the book. For me, someone's roots or origins inform who they have become. I try to draw from my own experiences, and if there are characters that go beyond what I know or have experienced dealing with, then I research and interview people. There was a crime fiction story I wrote in the past where the main character was abused as a child. To make the character fully developed, I interviewed people who have been abused as children. It was difficult and challenging because the stories they related were heartbreaking, and I sometimes wanted to give up because it was really such a dark topic. But the research and the exposure I had with them helped me create my characters with empathy. And I wanted to celebrate their strength and provide hope to others who may have gone through the same ordeal. If I make characters, or if a character makes me feel anything, good or bad, then they're on their way to being memorable. First comes the creativity. But when there are things I need to understand more to make the characters or the situations more believable, then I do extensive research. There are genres where this is needed, like in crime fiction. Because crime fiction happens in the real world, so I need to do research on laws, procedures, crimes, etc. If anyone sees my internet search history when I'm writing crime, I will be in deep trouble. But then there are other genres where you have a freer reign to be creative, and in those cases, I just let loose. As a multi-genre author, I straddle across different genres when I write. It's a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none kind of deal, where I don't really belong to any particular niche. And you see people in groups by genre, enjoying full community support. And sometimes I felt like a guest at best or an interloper at worst in some of them. It is unfortunate that I have felt this way in the past, but then I realized I won't really fit in 100%. And that's okay. I no longer let it faze or daunt me. I just continue writing, and along the way, I have found some people that are the same as me, so I know I am not alone. I have learned that the story you tell yourself is the most powerful story of all. If you tell yourself you are not worthy, no matter what other people say, you will always believe the worst of yourself. Self-doubt is crippling. When you start doubting your own capability, then everything stops working. Sometimes this is brought on by what others say to you or about you, but other times it is what you tell yourself. I have learned to manage my inner storyteller to be a little gentler on myself. Over time, I've learned to tell myself, that I have a unique story that doesn't conform to other guidelines. No matter what people say about me, I usually power through because I know my own story and I live it as authentically as I could. Be authentic. Find your voice. While it is sometimes easy to follow the herd and adapt so you can find your tribe, make sure you're not doing it at the expense of suppressing your true voice. While it helps when you write with a community that supports and lifts you up, it is also okay to be your own person if that's what you are meant to be. Just write and write and write. Let the story flow. Worry about editing, marketing, etc. later. Your story needs to be written first. The last story I wrote was a crime fiction, and it was included in a Christmas crime fiction anthology. It was a story of a crime-fighting sari-sari store owner with a network of mariteses helping him solve crime in an exclusive village or subdivision. I'd like to say the message in the story is that crime does not pay, but really it is know your network, connections count, don't judge a book by its cover, and nothing is sacred or secret when it comes to mariteses. I am working on two stories. Two stories of mine are being turned into graphic novels. I have partnered with some artists. One is a love story and another is a crime fiction story. Interestingly enough, the main characters in both stories are in their 50s. I'm also working on a new book with 3 stories where the main characters are also in their 50s and things start happening to them on their birthdays. The stories span across at least 3 genres: romance, crime, and speculative fiction.